Hey guys, this is Nick Christopher from Mob Tales. Hope you guys are doing well. I know we've been a little bit delayed lately, but we are back in black, as you can tell. I'm very happy to have a very special guest today, whose father I knew pretty, not very well, but I knew. Um, his name is John Franzese Jr. Has a very interesting, colorful life. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but John, thanks a lot for coming on the show. I definitely appreciate it.
Well, I'm glad to be here, Nick. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no, thank you. Um, just to give some people a little bit of a background before we begin, to people who may not know you, um, John is the son of Sonny Franzese, John Sonny Franzese, who was a very powerful Colombo underboss, acting boss, I would, in my opinion, for many years. Very powerful guy. And John grew up under his wing, was involved in the life to some degree, and had some setbacks during his time. And you know, John went through a lot of different changes in his life, good and bad, that we're going to talk about today. And so he has a brother, Michael. I know you guys probably heard of him, and but we're not really going to be touching too much about Michael. This is about John. So, John, my first question would be, is what was it like? Well, backtrack actually. What drove you to be involved in your father's lifestyle, in his world, so to speak?
Well, when I started hanging around with my brother Michael when he got straightened out. I mean, Michael was the guy that finally told me everything once and for all. And from then on, every time I visited my dad, he knew I was aware. I'll be honest with you, I was 16 years old, and I used to go out with Michael and Jojo Russo and Andrew. Andrew used to come a lot, and Chucky Russo, and I think Sally Machada. There were a whole bunch of guys. Michael used to take me out at nights. I mean, I was a kid with all of them, and I just loved it. I mean, I went through school for a lot of years. I went to Roslyn High School, which I think my father was the only person ever went to jail in that school. You know, it was a high-end school, high school. I mean, very good neighborhood. And for a lot of years, I couldn't make sense. And it was, I don't want to say tough, but being a little kid, like when in grammar school and stuff, I mean, kids used to make fun of me about my dad. They do current events about my father, and a couple of teachers got in trouble for letting them do that. Like you bring in a newspaper article and you talk about it. And there was a girl there in particular used to do it all the time. Her name was Dana Davidoff. And
You
teachers,
remember? Holy cow!
yeah, I remember. It's funny when I cooperated with the government, they said that I had one of the best memories they ever seen. And and in a lot of the articles that were written about me, a lot of the writers say that my articles were the easiest to vet because I had a good memory and I was, you have to embellish. You get older, sometimes you forget they're not exactly so. But
Hmm.
I'm pretty good for some reason at remembering these things. And in school they used to pick on me. I wasn't always a fighter. I was a ball player, and finally at 16 years old, when my brother put it together for me, I realized, hey, this is what it means to be a Franzese, and I like it better being with people that are all on my side. I got treated really well going, and I'm a young kid going to nightclubs in the 70s. I mean, that was the way the world worked here.
Yeah.
Um, and teachers and everybody started giving me a lot of attention. I'd get them into nightclubs, and you know, uh, it just seemed like the only life. I overlooked the fact that my father was doing 50 years. I kind of realized, hey, maybe this is worth it. You know, now I know why my dad is in jail. He lived this life for a long time, and it's a good life. You know, that's what I must have felt. But I mean, you get treated like royalty. I mean, money. It's easy when you realize that stealing and lying to make money with everyone that was called a civilian, you know, who cared? You could do what you want with them. And then amongst us, we tried to do the best we could. I mean, that's how I was taught. I mean, I
Well,
can't tell you the attraction to it.
when you say your brother told you what it's all about,
Yeah.
what so what do you so people can understand? Because like, okay, told you what about? Like, can you elaborate on a little bit on what he like taught you, so to speak?
Yeah, absolutely, Nick. The night after he got made, and I know it was the night after because he took me out by myself to, I mean, I had been getting in trouble in school here and there, and Michael always jumped in. My mother and father never found out. He'd come to, so me and Michael were close, and he was a great brother growing up. So the night after he got made a good fella, he told my if I was with him, my mother had nothing to say. I could go out, stay out, and he took me to a restaurant on Herrick's Road and Hillside Avenue called Chung King. It was a Chinese restaurant, and he sat me down and he said he wanted to tell me something, and he told me why he had been spending so much time with Jojo Fataco, who was another soldier with the Colombos. He was another made guy who originally was in my father's regime. But when my father went to jail, they put a lot of guys with Andrew and a couple of other guys, except for Johnny Irish Matera. He became a captain. But they were all guys from my father's original crew. And when Michael got proposed, they put him with JoJo for that year to make him run around and do what he had to do, any time of the night or day. And Michael told me, he said, that's why I've been going with JoJo. You got to spend a year with these guys. And, even if something happened in your family, you're on beck and call to them. And I got to tell you, he interjected a story about JoJo that's hysterical. JoJo liked to drink and he'd get drunk. And Michael said one night he was in JoJo's bar and JoJo got mad at his girlfriend or wife, Pat, I forget her last name. And JoJo took his gun out and he's shooting at the phone booth. I mean, at the payphone. And the payphones are steel. So the bullets were flying over everyone's head and ducking. He's hoping, my brother said, everybody was looking, hoping they didn't get a stray bullet and get killed. He had got mad at the phone because he talked to his wife over the phone. And not a lot of people mention Jojo Fataco these days. He died, I think, in the 70s or 80s, in the early 80s. But he was a tough, good fella from Greenpoint, too. And Michael explained to me what he had to do with JoJo and why he was there all the time and why I couldn't have gone with him. And then he told me they sat him down. He didn't tell me the ceremony. I mean, he didn't tell me that. And he wouldn't tell me the handshake or any of the above. But he just said, this is our life. And if they got to put me with Andrew because you got to be with the captain. And Andrew Russo was the captain, and we were all close with over the years. I remembered Andrew when me, my dad, and Junior used to go horseback. They used to take me horseback riding out in Babylon, and Michael explained to me every single thing: the capo regime, underboss, consigliere, and the boss, and they were officials, considered officials, and then all the soldiers. And I remembered asking them if guys I knew were good fellas or not, or like my Uncle Joey Bercato, my cousin Tootie. And Michael told me the whole thing that night. And I got to tell you, I was so happy because it felt like all the anger I had all the years at these people being wrong about my dad. I was like, son of a gun, at least because we never, nobody ever admitted there was a mafia or a mob. We never believed that. My father, until I knew, he never admitted that. I just thought, the government doesn't like Italian people. Yeah. I was 16 years old and I was, I knew something was wrong with that, but I was sticking because whatever my father, my brother, and everyone else we were close to said, I'm not changing that. And when they finally gave me the okay, I thought it was the best thing that ever happened. And I mean, Nick, you take a 16-year-old kid, you take him out with everybody, and then you start explaining, I'm opening my eyes in a way that, hey, there were guys I went to school with whose fathers would come to the nightclubs and be cheating on their mothers. And I felt like I was privileged to information that no kids in high school, whatever, that I hung around with were ever privileged to. And I started making money and, all of that stuff. There was, Nick, I was six, no, I might have been 18. But I just loved it. From that point on, I went to visit my dad. I think they transferred him to Atlanta. They used to let me visit. Am I talking too much?
No, not at all.
Oh,
Actually, before you mentioned about visiting your dad in Atlanta, I remember that actually. Just to get people a little bit familiar with what you're talking about, John Sonny, his dad, um, went away for a bank robbery that he didn't do. He went away for a crime he didn't commit. There's facts of that, and even I know,
definitely.
because it was the guy Cordero was the one who was responsible for the bank robbery. He's actually a lot of people may not know this, but Cordero's girlfriend went and ratted him out to the police. She even had signed an affidavit, but the FBI didn't give two shits. They didn't care. They could have released your father a long time ago, but they didn't care because if they want somebody, they want somebody. Period.
Yeah.
They were just trying to make a statement. But your dad, out of all the guys I ever knew and grew up with, that you and I discussed over the phone one day, um, he was to me he was a gangster's gangster, 100%. He was hardcore. This guy was unbelievable. And the times that I hung out with him at this place called Brunelli's on York Avenue in Manhattan, me and my friend Carmine Q, who you know,
Yeah.
I used to hang out with Carmine and Jimmy the Greek, Jimmy Papadakos, and Ronnie
Yeah.
K.
I knew Jimmy.
And we used to hang out together. And we had a table at Brunelli's with Carmine. So I was privileged to hang out with your dad, and he was really a nice guy. Really, he was such a very much a gentleman. wasn't loud, wasn't abrasive, nothing. He was very cool and collective, and he was fun to hang out with. He was generous. He never let me pay a drink, never, not once, which was pretty cool. I even went to his funeral. I paid his respects as well.
Thank you.
Uh, yeah, of course. So look, people say things about him that are not so pretty. Even the book that was written about him recently wasn't the prettiest picture of
Right.
him. I met your mom, Tina, too. I met her one time because there was a guy that knew your dad that actually was making a movie about him. You probably know the guy. His name is Chris Saletti. Uh,
Sure.
yeah.
I still
So,
speak to Chris. Okay.
yeah, me and Christopher, I know Chris a long time.
Okay.
And I remember he was making a film about it. I forgot the title of it. I went to see it actually, a premiere. And your mom was there. It was actually very good. It was right
With
on the mark.
with Ken Kushner, right? Wasn't Ken Kushner the guy who
Maybe
did the
so. I don't
yeah.
recall, but I was there, and Jerry Capisi from the Daily News was there, and Tim Robbins from Newsday. They were also there
Okay.
at the screening. Uh, So it was good. It never really developed anything, unfortunately, but it was a damn good movie. I don't know if it was a trailer or just a short film. I don't recall, but it was many years ago. I don't know, 20 years ago, I think. I don't know, something like that. But to give people a little more understanding of what your role was in that life, you said you started making money. How would I know your brother was a money maker, but of a different caliber. He wasn't a tough guy, wasn't a shooter. That wasn't him. So, were you on the same track as he was? That kind of earner?
No, it probably waited till I was about 17 or 18. Once my dad got out of jail, I think my dad told Michael to just keep me with him all the time and not to push me to make me finish school first and all of the above. But when my dad got out of jail, my dad had me open a social club in Williamsburg and start figuring out a lot of the bookmaking and stuff of that sort, Shylock. And as a matter of fact, the little things that were still my dad's going on in the neighborhood, especially in Manhattan, he had me get involved with, because we had a lot of bookmakers in the music business still, that went to the music companies that did book for, took action from a lot of the music, because all the heads of the music company, a lot of them came out of Kama Sutra and Septoretic Records. So my dad and Michael kind of kept me doing a lot of that. They didn't want me to get into too much trouble, like things that weren't necessary, but
Hmm.
I seem to cause a bit of a problem here and there for them. You know, I, and my dad would be like, "What do you?" There was a robbery that went on, and my father found out, and it was about $110,000 with three people. We did it. It was a big deal, and I was so proud. I was so happy. My father said, 110,000, you're going to do 15 years. Do you realize what was your end? Add that up with the time. He says, we give you more money than you need. What are you doing this stuff for? I said, Dad, I'm your son. I said, you got me with all criminals. So I said, I gotta let them know that I can do what they do. And he used to get mad at me all the time. Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's why I never got made a good fella. I was proposed at 18 or 19 years old. Michael was the one that proposed me. I'll never forget the night he proposed. I mean, that he told me that they were going to propose me. And I got into some trouble. He told me, stay out of trouble, only do what we tell you, stay with me and Dad. If you go to Brooklyn, just take it easy in the club and don't be too noticed or flashy. Everything I like flash. Everybody knew my business. You know, when you do a stick up, a lot of people take the guy's license and let the guy know you know who he is. So I used to do the opposite, let him know who I was. Say, listen,
That's pretty funny.
if you go to the police, this is who I am. I'll let you know now. You want to tell on me, go ahead, because you got a problem either way. So, yeah,
So,
but they didn't,
Michael was your sponsor.
no question about it. Michael proposed me.
Well,
Uh,
before you go further, to people who don't understand what John is talking about, when somebody proposes you, it's like proposing somebody for marriage, kind of a thing.
right,
He Michael proposed John to get to be to get his button in the family, meaning to get made, be part of, be a member. So that's what Michael did. But that has to go through certain channels. Every family gets his name, and it gets passed around. So see if everybody says, okay, yeah, he's a good guy. That's how it usually works for people who don't know. It's not like you go there and say, oh, yeah, here's my number. Can I get in? No, it ain't like that. It's
right,
got to go through a certain, level of, you know, hierarchy before somebody even gets accepted in. it's not that simple. It's not that, it's a little bit more indirect, so
Yeah.
people, like you're saying, so people could understand. And when I say sponsor, so the word sponsor, that means somebody from the family would have to say, let's say for myself, just to use me as an example, let's say John, right now, John would say to somebody, tell me, listen, I want to sponsor you to get in, to become maid. I'm going to sponsor you. I'm going to be your guy. I'm going to be responsible for you, no less. Because if anything you do that's wrong, I'm going to be responsible. Am I correct?
You're 100% correct, without a doubt. And yeah, sometimes I talk about that part of my life and I still get some of the emotions of excitement like I had back then, but that's not my thinking about it today. You know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my dad got out of jail in 2000, in 1990, 1978. And when he took me in the basement and he said, listen, son, and he said, you're going to get, we proposed you this and that. And he says, you're going to have to kill somebody. And I looked at him. He told me some other things. He says, you're a good kid. You take orders. Just keep doing what you're doing. Stay with me. Your brother speaks good of you. And then as we're walking out, Nick, I'm an 18-year-old kid from uh from Herrick's High School, Roslyn. And it wasn't that he said, could you kill somebody? It was on the way out of the basement. Uh, he whispered in my ear and he goes, don't worry, son, after you kill the first person, it gets easier.
Yeah, that's
That's,
John. That's
that's
such a
what
good.
he said. I mean, that's what got me. I realized at that point, I wasn't just saying yes to my father, that this might be something I didn't calculate it like that. I mean, it looks glamorous and everything. I couldn't wait. Yeah, I want to be just like you guys. I want to do what you do. I want people to know I'm tough. And like you said, when you meet my dad, that's not on his mind. He never had to prove anything. And I always felt I wanted to. Uh, which wasn't the best. I don't know. Back then was different. I missed him. He was in jail. I loved Michael. I loved Andrew and that life. And all I wanted to be was like them. Uh,
Outside of Andrew, I know who you're talking about, Andrew Mush.
yeah.
So outside of Andrew, did you also come across Carmine? I'm not sure if Carmine was not Carmine
Junior?
too. No, no, Carmine Persico.
Yeah. Come
Or
on. We call him Junior.
yeah, Junior, or
You
Ali
know,
Boy.
do you know the first night Junior came home? My father couldn't, he couldn't go himself because he had all his parole and Michael had heat too. I was at Junior's house the night he came home. All the captains were there. I don't remember everybody. I'm pretty sure it was Charlie Moose. You had Jerry Lang was there. Um, I forget some of the other guys. Donnie Sachs wasn't a captain yet. Uh, but But in any event, they're all sitting around the table. I mean, I got there early and we're all waiting. They all came over that night. I brought them pastries from Ferraris. And
Pretty sweet.
Junior goes, let John sit next to me. I'll never forget it. And I sat with him the night he came home with all of them. And it was out of respect that my father sent me so that I was representing my dad. I mean, it wasn't me. But Junior and I used to go to his horse farm all the time upstate when I was a kid in the 60s. Junior held my father and Junior and all the captains back then would go up to the Blue Ridge Farm, I think it was called.
Yeah.
Junior had a farm upstate. And they would meet up there. My father would take me. None of them would hardly take their kids, but my father would take me. And one day they spent the whole day there. They had a shooting contest. And then at the end, Junior wanted to have another contest with a rifle, with a 22. And he taped a $100 bill to a cigarette and put it down this little path, and all of those guys couldn't hit the cigarette, right? And I'm watching them. I'm getting a little bored because it was a little boring, and it came to the end, and they were going to stop. And Junior said, "John, let your son." He said, "Johnny, come here. You're going to me. We're going to shoot." And my father said, "No, that's no good. He can't shoot." And Junior said, "Yeah, you can shoot." And I was like 6 or 7 years old, and I held the rifle, the 20, it was a 22. He held it with me, and he showed me how to look at the sight. And sure
Like
as
scope,
shit,
yeah.
Nick, I hit the thing. And and when the $100 bill got passed around, my father wanted to take it and put it in his pocket. And Junior said, "No, that's your son's. He won it."
That's funny.
Yeah,
That's
nice
a good
story.
story. That's a
Yeah.
good story.
Yep.
What I knew a couple of guys from the Colombo family. Um, I mean, I'm good friends with Larry Mazza. Uh, I knew the Arenas growing up. I knew the whole family.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever crossed paths with them, with Vic or with Vic Jr. or John,
Well,
any of them. I don't know if you ever crossed paths with them. Um, because, I knew them very well. I practically grew up with them.
well,
So,
you know that when there was trouble with all that stuff, one of the things that started that group of guys from having a bit of a problem with me had something to do with I would go visit when Michael had his trouble and went to jail, and that thing with Norby came up. I was called down to Vinny Alloy called me down, and he said, "Hey, we hear you go to Michael's house." I said, "Vinny, I'm going there to see my nephews and nieces." He said, "Yeah, but Michael still calls that house. What are you doing there?" I said, "Vinny, are you kidding me? What have they got to do with his father?" I said, they hadn't seen his father. He's in jail. Whatever happened. I said, "They're still my nephews and nieces." He said, "Well, we don't think you should go there anymore." And I said, "Well, you know what, Vinny? I don't know if I agree with that, but I'm going to go see my father tomorrow." And the next day I went to Petersburg, I'm pretty sure, and I saw my dad. But I think ever since that day, Vinny Alloy was not happy. And Vic was I don't know if at that time he was acting or whatever, but I know ever since then, because I never really budged on anything with my brother. Like I never let them say anything bad about him or anything, or my father schooled me on how to behave around that kind of
mhm.
stuff, because there were rumors, there were problems, and my father's worried about me staying alive, Michael staying alive, him holding his position, all the above. It wasn't an easy time, uh, but I did know Vic. I knew him from Capital Resources when Mel Cooper and Doc Hyman had the Capital Resource Company. I think it was called Cooper Funding. Um,
It was like a mortgage. It was like a mortgage company or something like that,
it
right?
was a gigantic funding place, Nick. It was crazy. There was what happened over there, and Vic had a piece. Vic was close with Mel Cooper, and we were into Doc Hyman. What? Not we. I mean Michael. Um, was in there through that, and we were all whacking up loans and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, Vinny Alloy was about Vinny Blue Eyes.
Benny Alloy.
Yeah, Vinny Blue Eyes, right? That was his nickname, wasn't it?
Well, there was Benny Alloy and Vinny Alloy. They were two
Right,
brothers.
right.
But the story with Benny and Vinny was Buster Alloy, their father, was my father's first captain. Their father's was Buster, and when my dad got out of jail, he sent me to Florida to see Buster. Like my father loved him with all his heart. And Benny and Vinny were in my father's regime before my father went away. A lot of people don't know the history too well for some reason. But uh, but that's a fact. And that's why my dad was so upset with Vinny that Vinny had the nerve to tell me not to go see my nephews and nieces. And second of all, he was implying something about my brother, which there was no proof at that time. So there was a lot of trouble brewing that didn't come to light till a couple of years later. And then I'm a drug addict and an alcoholic on top of it here and there. So you gotta, so there was a lot of mix for me. And I don't
Mhm.
know how I'm still standing. I think you can relate. How are we still here, Nick? We're still
Yeah, really. Well,
here.
on that subject, uh, that unfortunately, was an unfortunate time for you. Um, you're obviously clean, obviously. Um,
24 years, 8 months, and like 17 days.
that's good. God bless. That's great.
Amen. Yep.
Um, Now, for people now to get on this subject, we'll get back to the life eventually, but on this kind of a subject, which is very sensitive, touchy subject, um, what unfortunately drew you into that world, and how did you get out?
Um, into the drugs and alcohol,
Yeah, yeah.
Nick, people used to say that we had more money than God. My father would slowly be telling me, son, you can't go out. You're burning the candle at both ends. You can't keep doing this. I got I got so full of myself, money, property, prestige, fortune, and fame. I was never a drinker. I never did drugs. I hated drugs. I played football. I played 6 years from seventh to 12th grade. I was an athlete. I mean, I never wanted that stuff. I'm out every night. I felt like a king. You randomly get in trouble, couple of assaults, you make money and you bring it in. And I mean, I was living a fantasy life. I maybe, like my dad and Michael, and a lot of guys like my uncle Joey Brancato, my cousin Tootie, Andrew, Chucky, JoJo. I have a feeling this is what was different about me. Like I became kind of a bully. And I mean, I was a good guy. People liked me. But you know why people become a bully? Because they know they're really scared. And uh, and that life had such a security, and it was all about reputation. But I wasn't like Michael and my dad. They were okay with who they were. Like my dad might have been scared, but he always knew what he was going to do. Like his scared was a plan. For me, I had to prove always to people and myself, I thought, that I wasn't scared. So you you become a terrible person. And instead of realizing maybe that life wasn't for me, I didn't know who the hell else I could be without it. Maybe. I mean, I'm still learning. I know that the life I live now, I haven't raised my hands to another human being for 24 years. I haven't had a thought of harm physically to another human being for 24 years. I, I live on very simple means. I mean, I lived on SSI and SSD until 2020. I lived like at the right at the poverty level. I mean, I was happy. I was trying to make up for all that I had stolen and all that I had been given from a life that just steals and kills and hurts people. And to this day, I feel like I'm rich, But if you had to look at me accounting wise, I live from paycheck to paycheck. I love my apartment. I love my home. I love what I do. But, when Nick, I find myself, I'm happier. I'm happier with who I am. I mean, I look people in the eye. People can make jokes about me now and I can laugh with them. I don't, I think you can understand sometimes.
Well,
I was
well,
so,
the other thing is that before we're going a little bit over time, but that's okay.
okay,
It's okay. We'll probably have to do a part two because the way we're going. Um, but the one thing I want to mention that a lot of people are going to say things, obviously, right? Oh, you interviewed John Franzese. Didn't John testify against his dad? And people are going to say things like this. Maybe they don't understand why. There's a reason for everything. So there must have been a reason that you did something like this. Um, I don't know if you regret it, if it bothers you, if it haunts you, if it was traumatic. Um, I from what I understood, it was something that you felt you had to do to try to put everything behind you to some degree. I don't think you meant to hurt your dad at all. I think it was something you felt you were against the wall and you didn't have much of a choice. Um, would that be the case?
Nick, you said it really well. There's, the one thing that I think is really a big deal, and we'll probably have to do a second part for me to say it. I mean, there is a
Sure.
reason, and you know that I'm the only informant that willingly went into the witness protection program. You can ask the agent. I'm friends with him today. They didn't have anything on me. I went, I answered a phone call. It wasn't like, Johnny, you're going to go to jail if you don't work with us. As a matter of fact, the assistant U.S. prosecutor, the representative from the FBI in Manhattan, because there was a Manhattan branch too on my dad, and then Rob Lewicki from Long Island branch. He was the
Hmm.
one I worked with, and we're sitting I think it was the Waldorf Astoria when they're realizing, this guy's gonna work with us, cooperate with us. And I remember, I think I forget his last name. His first name was Vinny, and the agent, and he was a good guy. And he goes, John, we don't know what to do with you. We've never had this before. We usually could tell everybody what they had to do and what we needed from them. This is brand new for us too, because there was no hold. There was no, you get away with your crimes and you work with us. Everything was a statute of limitation, had already been done. I was 4 years sober already. Um, when I became a cooperating witness, which is different than a confidential informant.
Hmm.
But look, whatever happened at that point, I was living a life that I never thought I could ever live again. My life, because of this gift I was given, my whole life was about trying to pass on to people what was given to me. And all of a sudden, New York finds out I'm living in California at the time, that I'm doing really good. And they wanted me to do some things for them, and they wanted me to come back to New York. And there was a problem, and I knew I could have said no. But let's just say I knew if I said no, that there would be a mother today that didn't have her son with her today. Now I knew I could have walked away, but they would have done it anyway. At that point, I had to make a decision. I had to make a decision. I didn't. I knew it would hurt my dad, and I didn't want that. But I knew that I was so far removed from that life that I didn't have no longer the right to just say no and make believe and walk away. That if I could help and change things, that I could. I didn't matter. It was the right thing to do. Um, and it's not easy. I I think of my dad all the time. I think of my mom, my nephews, and my nieces. You know, what did it do to them? Are people going to make fun of them that their uncle's a rat? Don't think I did. I thought of these things, and there was nothing I could do. My sisters and brothers, I gave up their father went to jail. My cousins, my guy who went to jail for me in the 80s, a guy who went to jail for me. I never sent him I never sent him $1. And and he's out with us too. He passed away on the trial. And I would have testified against him too. I mean, it was all recorded. I mean, I didn't do a good thing. I did the right thing. It was the right thing. I'm not trying to be any kind of hero. I'm just trying to make sense of this, you know?
You're saying, I see, from what you're telling me, and from what I understood, John did this. Yes, it was the right thing to do, not because he was, from what I understand, and from what you're telling me, and from the knowledge that I know about, is that you did it, like you said, where possibly if you can prevent from anything, any harm coming to anyone else, if you can stop it, if you can prevent it by doing this, you did it.
Yeah.
So you did it for a good reason. It wasn't like, oh yeah, I want to go hurt my dad. That wasn't your goal. Your goal was, in generally speaking, of what lives I could save by doing this.
Nick, do you know they say that remember they said I got paid 50,000? Well,
Yeah.
at the trial, but the 50,000 was from 2006 for 4 years, 2010. So if you add the years up, it's 5 years. They were giving me $1,200 a month.
So Social
That's what
Security.
I lived on. People are saying I did it for money. I didn't get it. It also came out in the trial because the prosecutor said, how much did you actually get? And it was, so now they're saying 50. No, it wasn't like that. I would never take money to have hurt people that I love. I would have never done that.
Yeah, but people don't understand that, but the government, that's how they work. It's like anything else. Okay, you do this for me, I give you this. There's always a give and take.
No, true, true. And
Every guy that ever decided to testify got money. From Vinnie Teresa back in the day to the current Larry Mazza to Andrew DiDonato. We can go freaking down the line. I mean, everybody, they all get money. That's the one thing they throw at them.
Nick, I got to get off, but
Yeah, no
I want
problem.
to tell you one thing though. They offered me money, and there was a lawyer there. And I said to Rob, I told you a long time ago, I'm not, you think I'm taking money to put my father in jail? And the lawyer called me outside and he said, do you know what you're doing? And I said, yeah. I mean, I told them this, Rob knew this before I got there. And I guess they had to make the offer anyway. But I didn't take no money. I was $1,200 a month, maybe the first couple of months more than that, another 600 more. But 12, it was 50,000 over 5 years, and it was to pay my monthly bills.
No big
So
deal.
yeah, yeah. So
Well, John, I know you got, like you said, you gotta jump. That's okay. That's fine. Maybe we'll think about this and we'll me and Pete, and maybe we'll do a part two. I mean, there's a lot more we can definitely discuss.
well, let me know if it's any good because I always think less of me when I do something. But Let me know if it comes out well, and when will it be on?
Should be possibly, maybe even tomorrow.
Really? Will
Yeah,
you text me and tell me where will I
of course.
find it on a Mob
Yeah,
Tales?
yeah, I'm gonna send you the link.
Okay, super. I wish
Yeah.
you guys well. Thanks for everything.
No, thank you, John. And if we'll discuss it, maybe we'll do another part.
All right, great. Are you in New York, Nick?
Yes.
I think I'm coming to New York around the 16th. We
Yeah,
should
I might
have
be.
coffee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, sure, brother. Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds good.
Super.
Thank
All
you,
right.
John.
Thank you.